places in this world that seem ordinary until you peel back the surface and see the darkness lurking underneath. In the quiet Italian countryside of Varese, life appeared peaceful, rolling hills, narrow streets, and families who had lived there for generations. But behind the calm facade, something unspeakable was growing, something born out of music, rebellion, and an obsession with the occult. This is not just a story of murder, it's a story of ritual, manipulation, and a cult that hid in plain sight. A story so disturbing that even seasoned investigators struggled to believe what they uncovered. What began as a love story ended in blood. Tonight we dive deep into one of the most chilling chapters in Italy's SIP's criminal history, a story so terrifying it would forever be known by one name, the beasts of Satan. Stay with me until the very end, because the darkest part of this story is not what you think. Varese, a picturesque town north of Milan. To outsiders it was the kind of place where time seemed to slow down. But for the youth of the late 1990s, it was suffocating. The culture was conservative, opportunities were few, and rebellion was in the air. That rebellion found its soundtrack in heavy metal music, loud, aggressive, and unapologetic. For many, it was just a genre. For others, it became a lifestyle. And for a small tight-knit group, it was something even darker. These were the kids who dressed in black, covered their walls with pentagrams, and whispered about rituals that promised power, freedom, and immortality. Most people laughed it off as teenage angst, but behind closed doors, some of them were deadly serious. Among these kids was Andrea Volpi, a young man obsessed with Satanism and the idea of ultimate control. He wasn't the only one. There was also Nicola Sapone, considered by many as the ringleader, a man who craved dominance and power like an addiction. Together they began something that would spiral into one of the most infamous cults in Italian history, the Beasts of Satan. At first, it was just parties, drugs, alcohol, music, but soon talk turned to rituals, sacrifices, and the ultimate offering, human blood. And then a plan was formed. January 17, 1998. It started like any other Saturday night. Kyra Marino, a 19-year-old woman, bright and full of life, and her boyfriend Fabio Tallis, a metal enthusiast with dreams of starting a band, were heading out for a night with friends. They told their families they'd be back later. They never returned. That night Chiara and Fabio joined a group that included Andrea Volpe and other members of the so-called inner circle. They laughed, they drank, they listened to music. Everything seemed normal until it wasn't. Hours later, as the night grew darker, Andrea suggested something different, a drive to the woods outside town. He claimed there was something they needed to see, something exciting. Trusting their friends, Chiara and Fabio agreed. But what awaited them in those woods was not excitement, it was death. The car came to a stop in an isolated patch of forest. The night was silent, save for the crunch of leaves underfoot and the distant howl of wind through the trees. The group stepped out, laughter fading as tension settled in. There was no fire, no music now, only shadows and whispers. Andrea led them deeper into the darkness, to a spot that looked like nothing more than a clearing, but to the beasts of Satan it was sacred ground, a place for offerings. Then the mood shifted. Words were spoken, ritualistic, strange. Candles were lit, casting a red glow on their faces. And then came the moment Chiara realized something was wrong, very wrong. She wasn't set here for fun, she was here to die. What happened next is something out of a nightmare. Chiara was surrounded. She begged, screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the trees. In the cold grip of fear, she realized there was no escape. The killers didn't hesitate. For them, this was not murder. It was sacrifice. Each stab was deliberate. Each drop of blood, a twisted offering to a darkness they believed would grant them power. Fabio fought back. He was strong, desperate, but against a group, even strength fails. His last moments were filled with horror as he watched the woman he loved fall to the ground, lifeless, before he too met the same fate. When it was over, the woods were silent again, 2 young lives extinguished in the name of Satan. And the killers? They celebrated. They buried the bodies and walked away as if nothing had happened. But it didn't stop there. In the months and years that followed, more lives were claimed. Some were rumored to have been killed for trying to leave the group, others for knowing too much. One of the most shocking cases was Mariangela Pezzata, Andrea Volpe's girlfriend. In 2004, years after the first murders, Volpe lured her to a secluded house and killed her, this time with a shotgun blast to the face. Why? Because she threatened to expose the cult. That murder finally cracked the case wide open. The arrests shocked Italy. The press called them the beasts of Satan, a name that sent chills down every spine. During interrogations, more horrifying details emerged. This wasn't random violence, it was ritualistic, pre-planned, and carried out with chilling precision. In court, prosecutors painted a picture of pure evil, and for once the word didn't feel exaggerated. But here's the thing, even after the convictions, rumors persisted, whispers that there were more victims, that other members escaped justice, that the cult never truly died. And that is the part that will keep you up tonight. Because if you think the story of the beasts of Satan is the darkest chapter in Italy's criminal history, you're wrong. There is another case, one even more twisted, more mysterious, a case that remains unsolved to this day. A story of disappearances, forbidden rituals, and a shadow that stretches across Europe. And next time, we're going to open that door. If you dare,